Hi guys, welcome back.
Lekker Brentie.
Lekker Brentie boy, Timmy boy, how's it?
Can you, Brakkie? How's everybody?
Lekker man. Lekker.
Yeah, so this is definitely going to be a short episode this time. We are on episode 17. No URC, no international games to discuss. We will do our Challenge Cup preview, Champions Cup preview, and then Timo's got some news for us.
Yes.
So we are going to try and keep it short and simple. We won't go into depth too much in each game. Not that we really can. We don't really have any teams or anything to go on. But we'll just do sort of an overview of the teams and give our predictions, which we all know is worth shit. So I think let's start with the Challenge Cup. You know, that is the one that we've obviously got the most invested in because three of our URC teams, South African URC teams, are playing there. Because we couldn't, do well enough in the pool stages in the Champions Cup. So the first game we've got is at 8 o'clock on Friday, and we've got Edinburgh versus the Lions. So the Lions squad I do have.
Yeah, that's 9 o'clock South African time. Just so that everybody is aware, it's 8 o'clock Edinburgh time, 9 o'clock South African time.
Oh fuck yeah! Sorry.
All good. We're just clarifying so that the South Africans don't sit and watch Nick Mallet speak for an hour before the match.
Well, Nick Mallet's a nice guy and
Yeah.
nice, yeah.
Fair enough.
Yes.
Okay, it starts.
So we won't go. So we won't go to in depth, with the squads. But I see both teams. Obviously, this is the round of 16, our first knockout round before the quarterfinals, and whoever goes through will go through the quarterfinals. So obviously, both teams picked a strong team. We've got the Lions playing away at Edinburgh. And then we've got I see they backed Eshe Kotze for the start. I don't think I've ever seen him starting actually. He's that guy that had that fucking brilliant offload that was all over social media. I can't even remember against which team. Very good player.
It was against the Bulls though.
Yeah, yes, correct. We've got Asanati, we've got Ruben, Jared Keynes. I like Jared Keynes. Ruan Venter, we all know how I feel about him. Frankie Horn, the captain. Mornay van der Berg Krappies is back. Gianni Lombard, Edel van der Merwe. Quinn Horn, we know how good Quinn Horn can be. And then they've got, it looks like they went sort of for an impact bench with Marius Lowe and JC Pretorius coming out off the bench. Then Edinburgh, they've got Skuman. I know that the one is injured, as far as I know. In fact, I heard that his Lions, British Lions tour, or is might be in question because of the injury.
That was something that was in that I wanted to say in the news. So he's definitely going to miss it. They're definitely extending his injury. So I think he's going to miss the BNI tour of Australia as well. So that is not good news. So he is 29, so he is reaching that stage in his career where injuries could be a lot more crucial. So let's hope it is not a long-term injury.
Yeah.
And let's hope he does recover.
Brilliant.
So he is available for international rugby, or at least the end of year tours. And stuff, because he is a good player, although we might give him a lot of flack sometimes, he still is a world-class winger.
Luckily, the British and Irish and Scottish do have a lot of good wingers, so I don't think he'll be missed too much in the BNI British and Irish Lions squad. Obviously, he is a brilliant wing, and they will miss him, but not like he's irreplaceable.
Yeah, it's not fair enough. Especially in the British and Irish line setup, he's definitely not replaceable. So he definitely is replaceable. Although he would have probably been the starting choice there. But yeah, let's getting down to it. Like we said, we're not going to go into depth too much on the.
And then we went into depth
on the teams. So I think looking at this from a South African perspective, I'll obviously be rooting for the Lions. hoping that they pull a rabbit out of the hat. But playing Edinburgh in Edinburgh, who are on form at the moment, they topped pool 3 with a 60 points difference. Playing 4 matches, winning 3 of them, losing 1. So obviously that's going to be a big game. And looking at the records of that, Lions lost 42-0, they lost 20-17, and they lost 25-22. So they're going into that with a 3-game loss. Edinburgh has beat the Dragons 38-5 in their last encounter, and they also beat Munster in Munster 34-28 in their last 3 encounters. So Edinburgh is definitely going into this.
Your prediction?
Firm favourite. I'm going to say it should be Edinburgh. The Lions, as we know, don't tour well. They don't even tour well in South Africa. So.
And this will be their third week away from home, because they started their tour in the URC when they went to Cardiff, lost to Cardiff, they played Glasgow, lost to Glasgow. So this is a very, very long tour away for these guys.
Yes, but look, it's either going to be the last swan song, or it's going to be, it's going to be, might be something to look forward to. Edinburgh has lost to Zebra in the last 5 games, and they've also lost to the Scarlets in the last 5 games, and they lost to Benetton. So they're not going into this as overwhelming favourites. Let me put it this way: I don't think they're going to beat the Lions 42-0 like Lions got it last week. So I think it's going to be closer. I'm choosing Edinburgh, probably by about 10, maybe 11 points.
I'm going to say Edinburgh by 20. Like I said, the Lions have been on tour for very long. We know how good they can be. They do show their class at times. I just don't think that's going to be one of those times.
No, fair enough. Bracky, what do you think, boy?
I think this is going to be my one weird one where I'm going to go against the grain and say that I think Van Rooyen gave them a fair spanking after their previous couple of rounds, and I think he's gonna whip them back in shape. Maybe I'm basically going on a hope that they would win, so I'm gonna say win with 10 for the Lions.
Ooh,
yeah.
Okay.
Wow. Hopefully we're wrong and you're right.
Hopefully you are right, because that's one result we won't give you a shit about. So let's hope you are right. Okay, next up, it's
Section Pelouse against Bath.
Against Bath, yeah. Interesting matchup. Neither one of these teams are looking exceptional in their last. You see now what you guys are doing. It's that pick of Braxton that caught me off guard now. Neither one of these teams are actually really looking that great in their last 5 matches played. I think Section Pelouse, or whatever they want to call themselves, they played 4, 1-2, lost 2. We've got 11 point difference. So not really looking that fantastic. On the in the Challenge Cup. So like in the we're still busy on the Challenge Cup, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so that is, I don't know, this is a hard one to call. I think I'm going to go with the home ground. Yeah, I just feel that the home ground will probably be the one that will set it aside for Section below. And they 2 games out of 5 in the last 5, and Bath is only 1, where they've also lost against Benetton. They lost at La Rochelle at home. They lost against the Exeter Chiefs. They only beat Claremont, and they lost to Leinster 47-21. So they've also got a proper beating from Leinster. So I definitely think that Section Poloi will probably end up taking this one, probably by about 15 points.
I'm going to disagree with you. I actually think that Bath is they didn't have the best Champions Cup. I think that's why they're in the Challenge Cup, same like the Sharks and the Bulls. That's why they got knocked out in the, I think, 5th position. Yeah, I had to be 5th position. But they have a brilliant Premiership in run. I mean, they're top on the log. I think they've only lost like 2 games. Johan van Graan is really doing something very, very well with Bath. And then obviously they've got probably one of the best lucid props in Thomas Itang Tutoy, playing for them. So I'm gonna go the other direction. I'm gonna think Bath. I mean, Section Police. I think they're like third from the bottom into the top 14. Really not a very good team. I think Bath are gonna smash them. I think it's gonna be Bath by 14 points.
Okay. So, bracket tiebreaker.
Yes, see, brutally honest, I don't know either of the teams, so I am really stuck. I don't know who to choose, to be honest with you. I don't know Bath or Police or whatever the other team's name is. I don't even know how they play, so.
It doesn't help that we don't have the team stats or the team announcements for those matches.
I'm sure everyone will sort of. It is knockout rugby, and we know that the Europeans take the Challenge Cup and the Champions Cup very, very serious. So everyone except the Saracens, apparently, I think are going to choose their stronger side to try and not get to try and get to those quarterfinals and possibly win it. So I think it's safe to assume that all of these teams, except the Saracens, are going to put their best team forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just feel like I don't have the necessary information to make a pick here, so maybe if you guys want to, I can go a random one.
Go for it.
I like green, so I'm gonna say the Police or whatever guys with at least 5.
Okay. So yes, well, let's see. I think it is going to be interesting because neither one of those teams are really looking very hot at the moment. So it should still be a good game though. And then moving on to Saturday, right? Saturday we have another South African team. Well, then we have 2 South African teams. No, only the one is the Bulls. The Sharks are playing on Sunday. So looking at that, it's Bayern against the Bulls, and these teams have kind of gotten into the habit of putting up large scores, and both of them are walking into the match where their last 5 matches played, both of them have won 3. Although the Bulls lost with 3 points to the Stormers and they lost with 10 points to the Sharks, where Everon Bayona lost 52-12 to Edinburgh and 33-15 to Edinburgh. So Edinburgh definitely has their number, coming up, but they beat Gloucester by 55-17. So, that's also, I think, walking into that, I'm going to back the Bulls on this one without a doubt. I think the Bulls just have a better touring squad than for example, the Lions. And I think the Bulls will probably be able to reap in that victory for South Africa. Let's hope we don't have a weekend like last weekend where we have basically no South African teams winning.
Yeah.
You see, the thing about the Challengers Cup is there's a lot of shit teams in it, and there's no disrespect to any of the shit teams. And I think Everton Pioneers is not the best team, but I spoke about it a minute ago about teams putting their strong teams forward. We saw Jake White sort of give up the Champions Cup last season, which sent the B team over to, I can't even remember and they got smashed, horribly. So I wouldn't be surprised if Jake White pulls the same move to try and sort of, back the URC instead of the Challengers Cup. I still think the Bulls are going to win it by, I'll go 14 again.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an easy victory for the Bulls. I think the Bulls should smash them by at least 35.
Then we've got Montpellier and Gloucester. So Gloucester is the previous year Challenger Cup finalists. They didn't win it. The Sharks beat them in the finals. Montpellier, I'm not really sure where they're standing in 8th. They've only won 9 out of their 20 games. And Gloucester is 4th. Oh, that's actually not too bad.
Yeah, so I'm looking at it, looking at the last 5 games. The last 5 games, Montpellier have won 4 of the 5 and only losing to Ulster. And they've obviously beaten the Dragons, they've beaten the Ospreys, they smashed the Lions, and they beat the Newcastle Falcons. Looking at Leicester, they've only won 2 of their last 5 matches. They lost against Bayona. They beat the Scarlets. Then they lost against Vannes. They beat Edinburgh, but then they also lost to the Sharks. So I think it's a tough one, yeah. I think just Montpellier having home ground advantage. French, it's always going to be hard in France. They've got very similar fans to like we have. They're in your ears, they're shouting, they're screaming. You've got that constant pressure. I'm going to say Montpellier. I think Montpellier is going to smash Leicester by at least 20 points, to be brutally honest with you.
Yeah, I also think so. And Kobus Reinach plays for them. Just before, I know he's leaving him this season. So I'm also going to say Montpellier by 10.
Yes.
Then we've got...
No. I'm so glad you said by 10, Brenty, because just because you skipped me for Bulls, I'm going to just say Bulls by 10. And then I'm going to go, who's that? Glasgow? I can't read there. It's blurry to me.
Yeah,
Gloucester. Yeah,
I'm going to say Gloucester by 5. Just because you skipped me with Bulls, I'm going to go against the grain.
Now you've started a thing, Brenty. You've unchained the monster.
Then we've got USA versus Racing. Both of these teams are very low in the top 14. So both to European, French teams. Racing 92, that's a team that called Siya Kolisi fat. He was playing for them before he went back to the Sharks. And I think Owen Farrell plays for them now, probably one of the best English fly-offs, at the moment.
I think we also said that we will try and keep our journalism honest. So please refrain from giving false information.
I like Owen Farrell. I think he's a very, very physical player. Dirty, but yeah, I think he's I think I said it a few episodes ago. I think he's going to get a call up to the British and Irish Lions, and then a few weeks later, Andy Farrell said that he's eyeing a few of these English players playing in France. So maybe you'll see. I'm going to go Racing with 7.
Yeah, I think looking at their victories, I feel that although both teams, like you mentioned, just looking really bad, I feel that Racing have better victories compared to Perpignan, where Racing actually beat the Harlequins. And they beat the Stormers. So I'm definitely agreeing with that. I think Racing should at least take it by minimum 5. I don't think it's going to be a big score. I think it's going to be a hard match, and I think Racing should pull it through by at least 5 to 10 points.
Yeah, I third that as well.
So then we got Connacht versus Cardiff. So Connacht is an unbeaten team in the Challengers Cup. I actually think one of the big contenders to take it. If it's one of the 3 South African teams, it'll definitely be him or them. They'll probably play Bandiaki. One of the weaker Irish teams, but definitely a main challenger to take this competition, I think. And I think they're going to smash Cardiff. They are playing at home, so I'm going to say Connacht by 12.
Yeah, easy. This should be an easy pick. Cardiff really not looking hot in any of the competitions they are playing in. So I'm also, I'm definitely going to go with Connacht, and I think Connacht is going to put a number on Cardiff. I think they're going to win by at least 30 points.
You always go so high, then I feel weird when I say like 5 or whatever.
Say 5, Bracky, say 5. Rather say than sorry.
Yeah, I'm going to say Connacht by 5, yeah.
Okay.
Then
your team, Brenton, playing against Lyon. In Lyon.
The Sharks are, supposed to be, the better team, but the Sharks can disappoint so badly. It's just almost impossible to say whether they're going to win. or lose. They did lose to a very young and unexperienced Leinster team in the URC at home this weekend. And now we need to expect him to go to France and beat Lyon away. So I don't know. I'm going to go Sharks. It's almost impossible to say. It's very, very disappointing team. Still hurting over the URC loss. So I'm going to say Sharks by 4.
Sharks by 4. Okay. So, like you said, we discussed this, quite heavily. I think this is probably the most even match of the weekend for me, where for me there's not a clear standout team that should take it. The Sharks, their loss against Leinster was very unexpected. But then, Leon lost to Connacht 52-24 in the last 2 matches. And they beat the Cheetahs 68-21, which is not really a convincing score against the Cheetahs, and we'll discuss that when we get to the news in a bit. So yeah, I'm gonna definitely back the black and white and go with our South African team there, and hopefully I'm gonna go Sharks by at least 25.
It always goes so high. I don't understand. I'm gonna go Sharks by 10, but yeah. I don't know. The previous game that the Sharks played, it was hectic because, as you said to me, it's a very unexpected. Was a very unexpected. It was supposed to be an easy win, but yeah, I think also the coach gave them a great spanking after that match. So I just hope that Kulisi and the coach could sort out their differences when it comes to making arrangements on field and making choices on field.
He did nothing wrong.
Exactly, but anyway, that is.
You're giving me a lot of grief about going high and being high and stuff, but you've got a real fetish for spanking at the moment. So I feel like you really want to be in the locker room and the spankings are dished out, So it's just
right. They are giving each other a right spanking after these matches. They better. If the coaches don't, something's gonna go wrong, very wrong, in the coming matches. But yeah, anyways, I'm going 10 for the Sharks. I feel like the Sharks are gonna give us a comeback that we desperately.
Yeah. Okay, so last match of the weekend then will be Ospreys versus the Scarlets.
This is actually one of the most interesting matches, and I'll tell you why. So these two teams played each other last weekend in the URC, where Ospreys went to the Scarlets' home, and then they lost. Now it's reversed. Scarlets need to travel, to the Ospreys. And I don't know. I actually think this is going to be a very, very good match to watch. I am a Shark, but the way I'm feeling, I'd rather watch this game. The Ospreys have players like Jack Morgan. The Scarlets have Ellis Mee, Blair Murray. So obviously, I think this is going to be a very, very very good matchup. Ospreys will be hurting from that loss, and I think they were even the favourites for that game in the URC. And the Scarlets are going to have a lot of confidence beating them. So yeah, let's see.
Well, looking at the last 5 matches, okay, the Ospreys beat Glasgow away. They beat Connacht. They lost very, very low to Leinster, and they massacred Benetton 43-0. Well, on the other hand, the Scarlets lost to Munster, they lost to Ulster, they lost to the Stormers, and last weekend they did whatever. Nobody predicted that. I don't think even anybody on Super Blue got that match, right. So I don't know. This is a hard one to call, but I just feel that the Scarlets has got a tail in the wind here. I think they're just gonna edge it at the end with all the internationals back, probably not having a lot of British and Irish players that's going to be unavailable. So I just think that they might just have that 3.4-point victory in them.
I think the Ospreys are going to beat them. We've seen how strong the Ospreys can be at home. They have a lot of good wins, and I think, like I said, I think they're going to be hurting from last weekend, and I think Ospreys are going to take it by 14 points.
Why are you going so high?
Now Timothy is going to say they're going to take it by 60 points just because he wants to be the highest.
They're going to take it by 15.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Well, in the last 5 matches, Ospreys have won 4 and the Scarlets have won 1. So the stats are definitely in favor of the Ospreys. So we'll have to see. But this is going to be a good match because both these teams should have the internationals available. So it's going to be an interesting one to watch. I'll watch the Sharks game. So if you want to watch this, then I'll tell you if your team wins. Maybe you're the bad luck, Maybe if you stop watching your team, maybe if you stop watching your team, they'll actually win. Because when I watch the Stormers, they just play shit. When I don't watch them, I go on Super Bowl. They win 50 points and stuff. So it's it's going to be interesting. Braki. Sorry, before we move on, before I get a spanking for skipping your prediction, what do you feel? What do you feel will be the score? Yeah.
Okay, wait. So Brenty is 14, you're 15, right? For Ospreys.
No.
Or 2 different teams.
2 different teams. I'm 4 for Scarlets. Brenty is 14 for Ospreys.
I'm gonna go 15 for Ospreys just because everything's in their favor at this point, and I like the way they play. No, I like the way they play, man.
Okay, all right. No,
still slow because it's not South Africa.
I like chocolate muffins, but I'm a diabetic, so it doesn't really matter what you like, right? Okay, but yes, Brenton, you mentioned something, when we were mentioning the one game or chatting about the one game, I feel that South Africa is almost at a point where we need to prioritize which competitions we're going to go in full force and which competitions we're not. Something that I do find funny, let's put it that way, is that Leinster is prioritizing the Challenge Cups.
Champions Cup.
In the Champions Cups, okay? They're not prioritizing the other competitions. And I feel that South Africa almost needs to follow suit here, where we start prioritizing that, because I do feel that if you win either the Challenger Cup or the Champions Cup, you're one of the best clubs in the world. Winning the URC, you're one of the best clubs between South Africa, Ireland, Wales, and Scotland. And Italy, yeah. Let's not forget, Italy. So I do think that that's something that we'll have to. We can discuss that maybe in our episode on Sunday. But I do feel, let's move on. We're getting close to 30 minutes though.
I think before we just the South Africans haven't really, obviously the Champions Cup and Challenge Cup doesn't really mean as much to us as it does to the European teams, and that's why there's this massive outcry to why the South African teams are even a part of it. We probably still will get the hang of it. I think at the moment we're fairly new to both competitions, URC and Champions Cup. So I think because we're new to the URC, we're also trying to prioritize that. I like Challenge Cup and / Champions Cup. In fact, one of the best rugby games I've ever watched, definitely top 5, was the Champions Cup final between Toulouse and Leinster. Talking about Leinster, I don't think they are prioritizing the Champions Cup. I think they're prioritizing both, actually. I mean, they've been unbeaten in the URC until the Bulls beat them, beat their B team. And I think they've got a pool of players and a pool of coaching staff to sort of be able to prioritize both. And I wouldn't be surprised if they take both. And I think Toulouse, the bigger clubs are definitely doing the same. But I don't know. I think we will get into it eventually. We're not all the way there yet. We obviously will watch it because we love rugby. But I don't think the South Africans really appreciate, even myself, don't really appreciate what this competition means to a lot of the Europeans.
It's not just that, it's the exposure, because it's almost like we said, it's the best of the best that's playing here. You're looking at the best players, and there's something that will come up in the news in a bit that we'll discuss about that. But let's quickly run through the Champions Cup, and see, because this is now obviously the basically like the first division competition compared to the Challenge
the ones
Cup.
we couldn't make it to
this. So
the first game.
Yeah, you
go for it.
No,
You go.
No, it's fine.
Northampton Saints and Clermont. This is going to be a big game for me. The Northampton Saints have a lot of very exciting players. We got Henry Pollock. We went on about him during the Six Nations, and I've seen 100 snippets of him on how well he played for the Northampton Saints during the Gallagher Cup. I don't know if they still call it that. Premiership Cup. And then they've got Augustus, Joarno Augustus, Tronky. He's very, very exciting South African number 8. Actually, very unlucky to have missed out on the alignment camp. Then Alex Mitchell, Finn Smith, obviously regular starters for the English team.
And Tommy Freeman.
Yeah, so I do think that the Northampton Saints actually beat the Bulls in Loftus not too long ago. I think it was during the Champions Cup pool stages. So yeah, I don't know. I can't see Clermont beating this Northampton Saints side. I'm gonna say the Saints by 20 points.
Yeah, also I was gonna go Saints pretty high. I think it should also be close to about 20, maybe 25. I'll say 19 before Bracky freaks out again. So I'll pick the Saints by 19.
There we go. I'm glad to see you're learning your lesson. So maybe before you get a spanking, yeah, I'll say 18. I'll say Saints by 18 just to make it a nice little ladder.
Okay, excellent. Next up should be one of the big ones as well. Two figureheads in their respective countries, Toulon versus Saracens.
Yeah, I don't see the Saracens doing anything yet. I haven't seen the teams yet, but I've read that they are sending a B team, which is sad. I think they've won the Champions Cup a few times. And Toulon, we saw a physical they were against the Stormers in Cape Town not too long ago. I'd be very surprised if the Saracens win this one, especially playing Toulon in France. I'm going to say Toulon by 30 points.
Yeah, I'm also going to go Toulon. I'll go Toulon by 32 points or 29 points. Although interesting, Toulon did lose to the Sales Sharks in the last match, so not sure.
Yeah, they're not doing too well. I think they're 6 or something in the Premiership. So I'm not 100%. But still, I think the sorry, Toulon. I'm thinking Saracens. Yeah, I don't know. I still think Toulon's going to smash them.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Toulon by about 15.
Okay, I think it's going to be Saracens by about 10.
Oh, my soul.
Okay.
Go for it, Lucky.
A B team can do wonders, dude. Let's see what happens.
Put money on it, you'll be rich.
No.
Next one in Dublin is Leinster versus the Harlequins. Should also be a good one. I feel the Harlequins are probably struggling a little bit, and like we said, Leinster lost one match in the last 5 against the Bulls at Loftus with 1 point, and it wasn't their full strength team. So this is an easy pick for me. Leinster by at least 40.
Yeah, I also think so. Leinster, we've said it. They're unbeaten in the Champions Cup. They've lost 1 game in the URC. We do know that the Irish, do struggle when it comes under pressure games in quarterfinals or whatever. I still think that Leinster are going to take this. They definitely are one of the informed club teams in the world at the moment. Yeah, I'm going to say Leinster by also about 30. Let's say 30. I'll be a bit more modest.
Leinster has actually had a couple of nice games recently. They, Brenty, you mentioned that they are one of the most informed teams thus far, or so far in the URC, and I also think so. They've been playing pretty brutal games against our other South African teams, and I think they're performing quite well. So yeah, I think it's an easy pick for all of us when we say Leinster, because they've just been performing very well, actually, better than I thought. But yeah, I think I'm just gonna be very much more modest than you two and go back to my 5 because yeah, this is
Okay.
Leinster, by the way.
So Leinster by 5. The next
Yeah.
one is one where a team that we didn't expect to see in a Challenge Cup playoff, which is Castres Olympique versus Benetton.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting to, if I had to put money on Benetton being ahead of teams like the Bulls and the Sharks at the beginning of the season, I would have probably not done that. But becoming a fan of the way the Italians play during the Six Nations, I'm definitely backing Benetton on this. And I'll definitely say Benetton I hope it's Benetton by about 55.
This is going to be an interesting game to see. It is a French team in France. I'm going to say Olympic. I don't see Benetton doing this. I'm going to say Castres Olympic by 7 or 10.
Okay.
I don't even know who this Olympic is, so I'm just going to go with the team that I know, which is Benetton. They have also not performed that badly. Here and there, there's been a couple of hiccups, but yeah, I'm just going to go with them and say by 10.
Haha, Benetton.
We should actually make a super brew. I'm fairly certain I'll be on top.
No, we need to do a super brew for this, but we'll definitely do it next season. Next one again, another French team and stuff. So it's La Rochelle versus Munster, and this is probably the two weakest teams that are in the playoffs of the Challenge Cup for me, but I do, looking at it, Munster have been average to okay at best. La Rochelle, based on their scorelines and stuff, has been pretty average. If they could have a draw, I would probably go for a draw. But with La Rochelle having home ground advantage, I'll probably go with La Rochelle with I think it's going to be 2 points. I don't think it's going to be a big score, yeah.
I don't know. I like La Rochelle. They won the Champions Cup, not last. Was about two. I think the one before last season. They won it, and they've got Ronan Nagaro, who's a brilliant coach. They've got Dylan Lades, and Will Skelton. I love Will Skelton. I think La Rochelle are going to take this. I think they one of those teams that are not really performing in the top 14, but they have a lot more. I don't watch the top 14, so I don't know what's going on there. But just by judging from what I've seen from La Rochelle, I think they should be a lot higher than they are. Yeah, I don't know. I think La Rochelle is gonna beat Munster by 7 points. Munster will also be very angry.
I think actually Munster is gonna take this one. To be honest with you.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of pent up aggression in the Munster team with the past matches that they have gone through. So yeah, I think with at least let's say 8 this time.
Sure. No, Brack is switching it up now. Now we've got problems. Okay, then the last. I think this is the last game for Saturday. This is I don't know. Probably one of the best Scottish team versus one of the top England team, which is Leicester. Leicester Tigers and Glasgow Warriors. I just have way too much faith in Franco Smith. I think he's definitely up there. They beat the Lions 42-0. They beat Munster. The other lost to Ospreys, which was weird because it was by 1 point. They beat the Dragons by 25 points. And they beat Connacht, by 3 points. Where Leicester Tigers lost 80-12 to Toulouse. They did beat Ulster, they did beat the Sharks, but then they lost to the Bordeaux Begles, and they lost to Leinster with big losses. It wasn't like a 5-point loss. So I'm just going to back, our away South African team with Franco Smith, and I'm going to go with Glasgow by 8.
Yeah, I don't see Glasgow losing this. Leicester can be a tricky team, and they had some very, very good wins. But yeah, I think Glasgow Warriors also, like you said, Franco Smith is just something else. Glasgow Warriors by 10 points.
Yeah, I'll second that, but make it 5 points for Glasgow.
Okay, all right. Heading into our second last match, which should be a no-brainer. It's the Bordeaux Begles versus Ulster. So just to give you guys some stats on this, okay? Bordeaux Begles are averaging 54 points a match at the moment.
They are something else. They really are. They beat Toulouse in the top 14.
Yeah, and they're averaging 8 tries a match. I mean, that is some serious French flair. You know, if you look at it, you know, and they're annihilating teams. You know, a 18-point win, a 21-point win, 29-point win, and almost a 40-point win against your team. They massacred the Sharks.
Yeah.
This is a no-brainer. I'm just gonna go here, and Bracky, you can say whatever you want right now. I don't care. Bordeaux Begles by 54.
I'm gonna say Bordeaux Begles by 50. I mean, they've got three of the most exciting French backline players in their squad. They've got Maxime Lucu, Jason Statham, who looked brilliant for France during the Six Nations, who came up after Overhyped Dupont, left the field. They've got Penau, who scored, I think, 6 tries against the Sharks in that game. And then LBB, the highest try scorer in the Six Nations, and I think he actually won the player of the Six Nations. I'm not even going to try and say his full name, but you know what I'm talking about. Against probably one of the weaker Irish teams. No disrespect to Ulster, they did beat the Stormers this weekend in the URC. But I think, they're I'm going to say Begles by 50.
Very high, you both. Very high. Why do you put me in this position? I'm going to say the Begles as well, but let's just say a 20 on this one.
Yeah. Bracky, that was a wrong prediction, boy. But okay, you've got the right team, wrong score. Look, LBB at the moment, that guy's just something different. Red Riding Hood, we've dubbed him, in Afrikaans Roykappie. That guy's definitely not, but he's not scared of the big bad wolf though. So I'm definitely gonna see if I can watch that, because I do think that's gonna be a fantastic display of French flair. I really do think so.
Yeah, I want to see if I can see this. I'm hoping it's not coinciding with any of this other. I actually think it's coinciding with the Sharks game.
No, so I don't like to watch it. That's fine. Then okay, so moving on to the last one before we move on to news. Toulouse versus Sale Sharks, and this is just also going to be one of those games that I think it's going to be boring to watch. Toulouse, actually, on the other hand, probably also one of the most informed sides, averaging 56 points and an average tries per match also 8. So obviously, the French teams, if you look at the Bordeaux Begles and Toulouse, definitely on form.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I also definitely think that Toulouse will take this. They are missing Overhyped Dupont because he is injured since that game in France. But they still have a Malvaca. I do think that Toulouse are going to smash the Sale Sharks. I think they're neck and neck with the Bordeaux Begles in the top 14 position wise, but I do think the Begles beat him when they came head to head. But I'm going to say Toulouse by 20. I'm going to say by 15 points.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing over on French side. I don't know what they're putting in the water, but something definitely is. I don't know. I'm too scared to say what I think, so I'm just going to say that they're really almost our teams. Brenty, do you understand this? They're almost overperforming our teams. Do you understand this?
Toulouse is definitely one of the best teams, club teams in the world. There's no denying that.
To give you a stat here quickly before I make my pick as well. Toulouse are on top of the top 14 rankings with 70 points compared to the Bordeaux Begles on 65. The big thing here where it comes down to is the points difference. Toulouse has a points difference of 312 after playing only 20 games.
They are the champions as well.
Yeah.
They won. I remember that game. Good, very fucking good game. As
Yeah.
far as I remembered, until the 80th minute, there wasn't one try scored. But it was such an intense game. And Toulouse eventually took it in extra time. So yeah, Toulouse they've got the heart for it. And the Sale Sharks, I mean, they got smashed badly by the Stormers in the pool stages, if I'm not mistaken.
40 nil.
Yeah, so I don't know. I didn't see it. The Sale Sharks. I mean, the Sale Sharks have more Afrikaners in there than most of our South African teams.
Yeah, but they don't have good Afrikaners in there, so it doesn't really matter because they've got all those brothers and stuff, and you know. But yeah, I think it should be Toulouse will probably win by I think about 36 points.
Yeah, I'll also say about 25. I'll say 25.
Yeah, I'll say 10 just to make it a ladder again.
Okay. News. Nice.
Go for it, Timo. I don't have any headlines this week. I think it's all you.
Okay, so first thing I just want to say is small news, and because he's probably one of my all-time favorite players, is Nonu.
Oh, I saw that.
The New Zealander is back in Toulon as a player coach. He's 42 years old, and he came on in a 21-minute cameo over the weekend, and he looked fresh. For a 42-year-old, he looked fresh. Do I think he'll make an international side? No, I don't think so. But he did look fresh, you know, and it was just good to see him back. And you know, if you have him,
I didn't watch the game, but I did see some of the highlights. It was.
Yeah, he's definitely still on form, and you know, they did lose. Toulon did end up losing that match. I think it was by 2 points or by 1 point. But having him as a player coach, which means that he's going to be helping the development and stuff there. He was probably one of the most lethal number 12s, and for me, probably one of the best number 12s that ever played the game. So it's good to see him back. Let's hope he can just stay injury free and help develop some inside centers there, because he was definitely an artist when it came to that position to watch. So let's hope that he keeps it there. And then lastly, which is some sad news for me, I've been following the Cheetah thing, and you guys know I've been stating that we need to do some club mergers and you know, to get some of the Cheetah players and stuff. You know, they're one of the big South African unions, and they always got, you know, cut out of Super Rugby. Back in the day, they were the victim when the Kings were put in, and then they were the victim when the Cats split up again and the Lions had to stay in, and the Cheetahs were the sacrificial lamb. And it has now come to light that they are currently lying fifth on the SA Cup, which is pretty much the Curry Cup. To the lying fifth, and they're playing this weekend. They're playing the Griffins. Now they've played 4 games, only won 2. So they're not looking good. And in the article that I read today, it was on Rugby 365. Their coach Frans Steyn and their I think it was their financial or it was an administrator. If the Cheetahs don't win this and they don't reach the semi-finals of the SA Cup, they are considering closing down the franchise.
Yo, that is very, very sad. I know Frans Steyn tried to save it. I actually didn't see that. Only thing I saw with regards was some fake April Fool's news stating that they're joining the URC and the Lions are out, which obviously turned out to be a stupid April Fool's joke. But yeah, that is very, very sad. You know, I know that they've been given sort of a lifeline in the Challengers Cup, but they weren't allowed to play at home. They had to play in the Netherlands, I think.
Yeah, their main field was in Amsterdam, if I'm not mistaken. But you know, it's also considering that they've got they're away 7-8 months of the year.
Yeah, it's very sad. It really is.
And I mean, I've had the privilege of watching rugby on Bloemfontein on the Bloemfontein Stadium once, and you know it's just such a passionate crowd, and I just feel that they've been snubbed on so many occasions, and it will, you know, I really hope that there is a lifeline and whatnot for them where they could just potentially pull it through. I don't know why they're not using that stadium anymore, because I don't believe the Free State have a stadium that they can use for like the soccer like they did in Cape Town. You know, that's another possibility, is maybe moving, you know, considering moving the Stormers over there. It is a neighboring province, so maybe move them over there, and have a bit of a merger with the Cheetahs, and kind of just, you know, try and save the union and play half the games there and half the games, you know, in Cape Town. Maybe bolster your squad up a bit, because I feel losing that franchise is going to be crucial. You know, we're looking at a team that almost won the Super Rugby back in the day once or twice. You know, our current Springbok coach Rassie used to coach there, and when he coached there, he created players like, you know, like
he used to play there as well, yeah.
Willie Leroux, you know, and you look at all the players from the past. Oostirand came from there. Oli Leroux came
Ox
from
and
there.
Shea came from there.
Ox and Shea comes from the Cheetahs. So it's gonna be really sad for me if they do die. So let's hope somebody can intervene there and maybe just, you know, find a way to make it work. You know, merge them with some clubs. You know, I mean, we don't want to lose them, and they've already been snubbed out of so many rugby competitions and stuff. Maybe get them back into Super Rugby at least then. And yeah, well,
I know that
see.
Frans Steyn was pushing for that, but yeah, I don't think that's happening.
Yeah, but that's all I've got. If you guys have anything, I know Brenty, you don't have anything. Bracky, do you have anything?
No.
Nothing.
Okay, well, then I think this is a good place to stop. So everybody be safe.
Cool.
And then we'll chat
Cheers,
again
guys.
on Sunday.
Yeah, we'll have the
Yes.
reviews.
Can't
Alright.
wait to see the results.
Lekker boys.
Cheers,
Lekker,
guys.
James.
Bye.
Goodbye.